morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Crafting and Crime Daily, the show where I recap live trials. I'm currently covering two trials. The trial against Thomas Randolph for the murder of his sixth wife, and we'll cover that first. Then we're going to talk about the trial of Henry, I can't remember his last name, Dinkins, Henry Dinkins, for the kidnapping and murder of his son's sister. Now, he wasn't the baby daddy of the sister, but he is accused of kidnapping and murdering her. So some interesting testimony came in both cases. And then at the end, we're going to talk about Lucy Letby, the UK nurse that was just convicted of murdering all of those babies in the neonatal intensive care unit. So lots to cover in this episode. Updates on everything. Yes. Okay. I put away the event painting and got out my logo painting again. Let me show you what I did on the event painting over the weekend. So it's not always that I have two paintings, much less three. I've got three going at the same time, but it just sort of happened to work out that way because somebody gifted me this logo painting and I am in love with it. Okay, so here's what I got done over the weekend on the event painting. There, I went up the side. So, and I was being a little critical of the charting on this, that you wouldn't be able to tell what's what. But after taking a step back, after all the confetti, I do see that it does look good. You just have to look at it from a distance or through a camera lens, because it does look, when you're staring at it from 2 feet away or a foot away, it does look very pixelated, but when you back up, it looks pretty darn good. I got one house pretty much done. Was working on the roof here. I put some bling into the leaves up here. There is actually some bling in on the roof as well for where the leaves are falling onto the roof. But that's where we are so far. Okay, let's put that away. We're just going to put it right there for now on the floor. It's okay. I have Crafts with Crashley release papers covering the painting so that it doesn't get full of cat hair. The one I'm using several different ones, but here is the one I'm using on the logo painting. It's really, I think that's upside down. It's like little angels and stuff. Anyway, check out her site. They have some of my artwork on their site as well. The link to that is down in the description. That's the advertising portion of the show. Now let's talk about the trial of Thomas Randolph. Okay, I need to wake up. Coffee. Yeah. How you like my cat? Because I got a big belly, this is a fat cat. If I were thinner, it'd be a thin cat. All right, yes, I went there this morning. So, Thomas Randolph, interesting case. They're not allowed to bring anything in. Now, he's already been tried for this murder and conspiracy to commit murder of his sixth wife and his handyman, who he discovered was the burglar underneath the ski mask after he murdered him. The appellate court, when they overturned that conviction, said that the court or the jury should not have heard evidence about his second wife who committed suicide. That's how it's been ruled. However, they tried him for her murder and he got a not guilty verdict. So because he was found not guilty, the appellate court said, no, that stuff should not have come in. It's only a prior bad act if you did a bad act, and the jury found him not guilty. Well, this judge is taking it to an extreme. She's not allowing this jury to hear about any of his prior wives. None. Nor how he groomed other individuals, other men, to kill some of those wives. In any case, Friday morning, the judge ended up sending the jury to lunch early and said, come back after lunch, because they were arguing, the attorneys were arguing over what evidence could come in through Billy Miller. Now, Billy Miller is the uncle of Mike Miller, the burglar, the handyman. What was going to be hearsay, what was going to be not hearsay. And anytime, this judge has ruled that anytime there is court outside the presence of the jury, they're not allowed to record. The cameraman has to shut the camera off. There's no sound, there's no video. So we don't know what the arguments were. We don't know what the issues were. We just know she sent the jury to lunch. And like the jury, we just have to come back when it's all over. You just get a blank screen. The first three witnesses on the stand were DNA analysts. Why they needed three people to come in, because each one issued a separate report. That's why they had each come in. But in general, sometimes you'll see that just one will come in and she'll give the report for all of the analysts. You don't often see that all three have to come in. Sometimes there's only one analyst, sometimes there's two, but I don't know why you thought you needed three to come in and testify. Perhaps the defense would not stipulate to the authenticity of the records of the other two, in which case you have to bring in the person who actually authored the report. That could be what's going on. I don't know. In any case, three different DNA analysts, each had a different part. The first one did the DNA testing on several different articles of clothing: the gloves, the ski mask, the Walmart bag, things that were found around the body of Mike Miller. She did this testing in 2008 or 2009, when the initial murder occurred in 2008. And DNA was different back then. They had a different way of reporting it. It's not as sensitive, or it wasn't as sensitive as it is now. It's yeah. So she did all that testing, and she found that the Walmart bag had Mike Miller's DNA on it, with Thomas Randolph as a minor contributor. So both of them had DNA on the Walmart bag. And the Walmart bag contained, there was two Walmart bags. One had some jewelry in it, one had some clothing in it. Then there was a pair of gloves that Mike Miller wore, and of course Mike Miller's DNA was on the gloves. Then the ski mask, there were three individuals identified on the ski mask, three sets of DNA. Mike Miller was a possible contributor. He was one of them. The other two could not be identified. So what does that tell us? Nothing. Not a thing. Then they had the second DNA analyst. She came in because she redid all the testing current day, 2023, which I just said is a lot more sensitive. And on several of these items, she could not add any additional information to the first report, because she said she actually got 5 contributors on the ski mask. It's because it's way more sensitive now. Once you get to 5 contributors, you just stop counting, and there's nothing you can do with the result. So she didn't really have anything to add. And then the third one came in, and honestly, I don't remember what her part was, but because DNA, it's some of the most boring testimony you'll ever listen to. In any case, the next person on the stand was the aunt. I don't know if you'll recall, but Mike Miller was living with his aunt and uncle. Now, he's an adult, but he was a little down on his luck. So he moves to Vegas from South Carolina, and he's going to get a job, and he's going to make it big in Vegas. So he's staying, and he has his own room in Aunt and Uncle's house. Also, last name Miller. He was related to the uncle, only the aunt by marriage. Mm, 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 mm. So good. Okay, this aunt, she admitted, listen, my memories is not as good as it was back in '08. I'm 72 years old. because they were asking her, well, didn't you say this? Didn't you say that? You know how they like to discredit people. She actually said that she had warned him to stay away from Thomas Randolph. She said, you know, this guy's bad news. Randolph would come over to their house and sit out by the mailbox. And he and Mike Miller would have these lengthy conversations, like hours. They would sit in that car to the point where one day they were out there so long, she brought them snacks. She said, are you guys hungry? You want some snacks? So they accepted the chips and she went on her merry way. But just a weird, weird relationship. She said that, you know, this is back when everybody still had home phones. She said Mike would get hundreds of voicemails from Thomas Randolph. Hundreds. And they're like 100, tens of tens, 100. She's like, a couple hundred. So she would listen to them all and then she would relay the important ones to Mike Miller, including the one where he said he wanted his gun back. He had loaned Mike Miller a gun so he could practice shooting. And pretty much the very next day called and said, I need that gun back. And the gun was a 9mm. Now, Sharon was not killed with a 9mm. She was killed with a 38. But the 9mm was used by Thomas Randolph to kill Mike Miller. So in any case, that was her testimony. Now, there was some issue about the ski mask. Was it their ski mask? Was it not? She said, I don't remember a ski mask. She couldn't remember, she said, she couldn't remember a bicycle either. She says, I don't remember him riding a bicycle. I would loan him my car if he was looking for work. Now, her and her husband had a cleaning business. Like they would go into Bellagio at night and clean these casinos. So he would do that sometimes with them. They had trained him to do it, and he was, you know, she said once he was trained, he did fine. Now, I don't know why he didn't continue to work for them, but anyway. So now we get the uncle on the stand. Yes, Billy is on the stand, and he has a lot to say. He said that Mike did acknowledge, you know, he talked about, yes, they hung out by the mailbox. He said there was one time he did come in the house, Randolph, but other times he was just out in there in his vehicle talking to Mike Miller by the mailbox. So both the aunt and the uncle testified that Mike had said very shortly before, the week before he's murdered. And we know that the week before he's murdered, Randolph and Sharon had gone out of town to take care of Thomas Randolph's sick father. Then they had come back for that Mother's Day weekend. So Mike knew this. Mike tells his aunt and uncle that Randolph had asked him to house sit. And they told him, no, 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 you shouldn't do that. Don't do that. No, it's not a good idea. And they even went so far as to tell him, you know, you might get shot. This is not a good idea. The aunt was asked, did she ever have any valuables go missing while Mike lived there? She said, no, never. The uncle said that he never worked as a handyman anywhere. Wasn't trained to be a handyman. He don't know anything about being a handyman. But this guy, Thomas Randolph, kept offering him these handyman jobs. So he would go with Thomas to do this job, and then he would come home all frustrated and angry because Thomas wasn't able to help with the job, so the job didn't get done. They would end up doing something else, like watching baseball on TV or something. And then Mike would come home with no money, and he would be really pissed off about it. Randolph kept saying that his back hurt, so they couldn't do the projects that they had intended to do. Both said that shortly before the murders, Mike had said that he had a new girlfriend, that he was getting ready to come into some money. Didn't say how. He was going to come into some money, and that he and his girlfriend were going to move somewhere else. So when this testimony, and both attorneys were very, very careful about the questions they were asking. Like, don't tell us what they said. Just, you know, answer the question yes or no. I would love to know what was discussed during the arguments outside the presence of the jury, but we'll never know. In any case, the jury got to ask questions. Yes. And they had some questions of the uncle. When did you last see him on the 8th? When was the last time you saw him before you got murdered? And he said, Mike had been missing for 3 days before the murder. Now I'm thinking, was he house sitting? Did he think he was house sitting? Hmm. Hmm. Or was he at his girlfriend's house? Or what, Because here's the thing. The uncle did say that, yes, he would use a bicycle and he would use the bus to get over to Randolph's house. They never found a bicycle. They don't know how he got to the house that night, Mike Miller. A lot of times Randolph would just come pick him up and the uncle even said that Mike had told him that they had been out shopping for jet skis that day, which means he did see him. See, I'm confused. Yeah, I'm confused because he said he knew about the jet ski shopping. So how did he know that? Because that was on the 8th, the day that Mike was murdered. Okay, I'm confused. And then the jury wanted to know, was the bicycle missing? And he said, no, the bicycle was not missing. It was the aunt's bicycle that he was using, and it's still there. So, what a tangled web we weave. Interesting case. I don't know how this is going to shake out without the jury knowing everything that we know about this guy. I just don't know. Or are they going to secretly find it? Here's my question for you guys today. Leave me a comment. If you were on this jury, would you secretly research Thomas Randolph? Because they got to know, this jury has got to know something's missing here. Why are we trying a 2008 case in 2023? Number one, what are they not telling us? I would want to know. Personally, I'd probably look it up. When I'm sitting in bed at night with my iPhone, my fingers might go Thomas Randolph real quick so I can see what I'm missing. I know, it's terrible. Oh, gosh. Okay. So now let's talk about the other case. The other case has gotten really interesting as well. This is the case of Henry Dinkins, who is the father to DL, who was 8 years old at the time of this incident. DL wanted to spend some time with his dad. His sister came along, his 10-year-old sister came along. She is never seen again. They go to bed that night. DL and his sister, they've played games, they've had showers, they've eaten, they go to bed, and DL wakes up, she's not there. But a lot happens in between that. So we know, this is really interesting. So the first person on the stand is, and I don't know what day this is of testimony because I tried to get caught up over the weekend. So it was a Walmart employee. He worked for Walmart security and compliance. So he pulled the tape of Henry Dinkins, shopping in Walmart. So, and he had video of what was going on out in front of the Walmart. So it shows Henry Dinkins driving up, and you can actually see a passenger in the car as he drives past this video camera. So he pulls up, and it's just before 7 o'clock. He gets out. He sees that the store doesn't open until 7 o'clock. He gets back in his car, drives away, comes back, and now he's standing out in front of the store at 7 o'clock with 3 or 4 other people, and they're all waiting for Walmart to open. It opens at 7:04. Then you see security footage of him going in. He grabs a basket, goes over to where the bleach is, buys 2 bottles of bleach, Clark's bleach, checks out, pays $4.50 in cash. It's now 7:08 a.m. and he exits the store and drives away. Yeah, interesting, huh? Okay, so then we have the FBI fingerprint analyst. I have said this before, guys. I don't know why anybody wastes their time with fingerprints anymore, because lately all I hear is not suitable for comparison, not suitable for comparison. That's pretty much, maybe because they know the jury's going to say, why didn't they get fingerprints? Well, most of the time you're not going to get prints off of all this stuff. And the stuff that they were testing, the hatchet, there was a hatchet found in the trunk. There was not one machete, but two machetes seized. One was on top of a microwave in the trailer that Henry Dinkins owned, and the other machete was in the trunk of the car. Two machetes. The sheath for the machete, the cover for the hatchet, a broom from the kitchen, a bottle with cap and liquid contents. That was a bottle of spray Clorox bleach, which DL had said he saw his father spraying bleach on the machete and then wiping it down. So all this stuff was tested for blood and bodily fluids, and it either tested negative or it didn't test negative. And that's a different analyst. That's the trace evidence analyst that testifies next. But the fingerprint, she could not get fingerprints suitable for comparison off of anything except the broom from the kitchen. And it was Henry Dinkins because, it's Henry's DNA. They tested the mattress. Well, no, this is trace evidence. I'm getting into trace evidence. So fingerprints, nothing except for the broom. All right, trace evidence. That's blood, bodily fluids, things like that. So she tested everything. She found, they tested stains from the mattress that was found in the trailer. And the only thing it came back positive for was uh, DNA from Henry Dinkins and Henry's girlfriend. Then they found hairs and fiber in various locations, but they had nothing to compare it to. By the time they found Briasia, the little girl who was murdered, it had been months later, and she was decomposed, and there was no hair uh, for them to compare it to. So when you don't have anything to compare it to, you try to get some kind of secondary sample. So they were given a hairbrush, but the analyst said even that's not that great because it could have been her, it could have been two, three, four, five other people. Whoever used that hairbrush, they didn't know. And as it turns out, her mom's DNA was on the hairbrush and hers wasn't. So in any case, they didn't have anything to compare the hair and fibers to. So, and they tested everything. The clothes that Henry was wearing when he came for his police interview, and we're going to get to that because interesting testimony about that. So then we get the lead investigator, and he's on the stand for the next day and a half, and I think they're going to start his cross-examination today, or they're still examining him. The direct examination is still going on of the lead investigator. But they first show the initial interview with Henry Dinkins. It's over an hour long, and this is done the same day that he reports Briasia missing. In fact, the interview starts out, the investigator walks into the interview room, Henry's sitting there, and his phone rings, and he answers it. And it's a police officer on the phone calling Henry Dinkins. Meanwhile, the investigator's standing there. And the police officer's going, "Where are you?" Because he was out, he had been out at the apartments where Briasia disappeared from, which is the home of his girlfriend. So he had gone out there. He was talking to the police. Briasia's mom had gone out there. Briasia's mom had gotten angry about something and she stormed off. So when she stormed off, he leaves and he decides he's going to go down to the police station. So now, meanwhile, this poor police officer standing there going, "Where did everybody go?" And he's like, "Oh, where are you?" And he's like, "I'm down here at the interview. I'm in an interview room." So then the investigator takes the phone and says, "I'm here with him and I'm going to interview him." So every answer that this guy gave during the interview was like, "You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, well, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?" I thought, if this was a drinking game, I would have been passed out drunk because he said it so many times. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? No, I don't know what you're saying. Stop saying that. If I was the investigator, that would have driven me absolutely bonkers. I would have had to tell him, stop saying that. In any case, the first thing he does is he starts out by lying to the police officer. He's like, "Where's your car? How'd you get here?" I got here in the Impala. Well, where is it? It's around. It can be found. So this is why he's lying about it, because he's not supposed to be driving apparently. So, I don't know what that's all about. We know that he is a sex offender, a registered sex offender. I don't know what the no driving is about, but he didn't want to say that he had been driving the vehicle. So he says, "You just said you got here in the Impala." And he goes, "I didn't say I drove it." And he goes, "Listen, I don't care about whether you're driving or not driving. I'm not here about that. I'm here to try to find this young girl. Where is this car?" He wouldn't tell him. He goes, "My homies have it. My homies have it." People still talk like that in 2023. My homies have it. Know what I'm saying? My homies have it. Know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, the cat's like, "Stop saying that." Okay. So he proceeds to say that he and Andrea, his girlfriend, they laid down that night. After the kids had gone to bed, they laid down that night in the living room. Only we know he didn't lay down that night in the living room. He says he did. He said that he left and came back. He was gone for about 45 minutes. He left. I guess he wasn't tired. So he leaves and he goes over to this friend of his, Vince's house. Now, he doesn't call ahead of time to see if Vince is awake or at home. He just goes there. And he said Vince wasn't home. Well, how do you know he wasn't home? Well, he wasn't answering the door, so we figured he wasn't home. Well, maybe because it's the middle of the night. He's not answering the door. Anyway, he doesn't know what time that was. He doesn't remember. He remembers seeing Little Dink in the bed. He calls his son Little Dink, DL. And so when he comes back after that 45 minutes, when he comes back after the 45 minutes, so we know that he comes back at 3 a.m. because 3 a.m. is the time that Andrea says she got up to go to the bathroom, and she came. Oh no, was it 3:30? No, 3:30 a.m. So she got up at 3 a.m. to go to the bathroom, sees that he is gone and Briasia is gone. So she's sitting up waiting for him, trying to figure out what to do. She doesn't know mom's phone number. She doesn't know. She doesn't know what to do. Henry's phone is right there. He's gone. He didn't even take his phone. So he comes sneaking in the house about 3:30. He's all, looking for something in the closet, and he's not talking to her. And he says what was it he said? This was when he noticed Briasia was missing, and he's going to go look for her. So, and I may be getting this chronologically mixed up in my head, because he talks about leaving and coming and leaving and coming a few times. So at this point, he's looking in the closet. Andrea doesn't know what he's looking in the closet for. She looks out the window. She sees Briasia downstairs outside, standing by the passenger area of the Impala. Now he leaves. Then he comes back later. No Briasia. By then, the sun's coming up. His son is awake in the living room. So he takes his son and takes the bag of stuff, the clothing that mom had given them to wear that day. And he says, "We got to go find your sister." So they go out looking for the sister. And he said that at some point he had stopped at a quick stop. And this was it was just after 3:30 a.m., like 3:38, I think, 3:30, 3:33. And they did say that this quick stop he could have reached within 3 minutes of leaving that home. So at 3:30, when he's searching through the closet and Andrea sees Briasia standing by the Impala, he goes down, gets in the car. Now we're assuming that Briasia's with him in the Impala because Andrea saw her out the window. He goes to that gas station. He can get there in 3 minutes. There's no traffic at 3:30 in the morning. He buys $35 worth of gas, 2 packs of cigarettes, and a lighter. When and there's surveillance footage. When he walks into the convenience store, you see him look back at the Impala. Now, the Impala has these dark tinted windows. So, and at night, you could not, it was out by the pumps anyway. You couldn't see if anybody was in there or not. But the way he was looking over his shoulder, and the whole time he's in there, he kept looking like out of the vehicle. I don't know, to see if she was getting out of the car or, but I'm assuming Briasia was still alive at that point and she was in that vehicle at the gas pumps. He pays for all this with $100 bill. Yeah. Now he says at some point he had gone to his trailer that night because he needed money for gas. Oh, that's after he gets his son. Yeah. So when he comes back to the house and he gets his son and they go looking for Briasia, that's when he has to go to the trailer to get money because he was almost out of gas. Now, you just filled your tank up with $35 worth of gas, and now you're out of gas and you got to go get money for gas. And yeah, that made no sense. Okay. So then the officer's like, I Henry's cell phone rings and the officers don't answer it. He goes, no, I think it could be my mom. They're all out looking for Berasia. I got to answer it. So no, the cop won't let him answer. The cop answers it for him. It's this woman calling about his expired car warranty. I started laughing. It was so funny. So the officer hangs up. I mean, isn't that just that's like the joke of all jokes? It's your you need to address your car warranty. Okay. So anyway, so then they have this discussion about the phone. Can I have your permission to make a copy of your cell phone? And he's like, no. I'll open it up. I'll show you anything you want to see, but no, you're not going to copy my cell phone. Right? There's things in there I don't want you to see. And he's like, so then the cop is standing over him, trying to get him to open the phone. And he's like, I can't remember the passcode because you're standing over me and you're distracting me. So the cop walks away. So then he puts in his code and he shows him whatever it was they wanted to see. But so then they have to go get a search warrant for the cell phone. Meanwhile, they also get a search warrant for the Impala, which they found parked out in front of the police station. It was right there the whole time. So they impound the Impala, they search it. He gets the cell phone, they make a copy of that. But here's the interesting thing, and one of the reasons the DNA is less important than we think it is because Henry changed clothes. This officer pulled body cam footage from the officer that responded to the apartment building, the one that called him to say, where are you? He had body cam footage. And so they took a still from the body cam of what Henry Dinkins was wearing when he approached the officer that morning. He had on a wife beater shirt and a pair of shorts and gold shoes, gold sneakers. At the police station, he's wearing different sneakers, different pair of shorts, and a regular white t-shirt. He had changed his clothes between the time that the body cam footage. So before he goes down to the police station, after getting angry and leaving the apartment where the officer is, he says, oh, no, I went to my sister's house. Now we know that after his interview, they take him to the hospital and they have a nurse practitioner take all kinds of samples, DNA samples from him, swabs of his penis and, various body parts. However, he had gone to his sister's house. He probably showered and changed clothes. So the clothes that they're testing are not the clothes that he had on during the night. Andrea said no, he had the wife beater, the shorts, the gold shoes. No. They never found the shorts or the gold shoes. Never found them. However, and they couldn't comment on the t-shirt because it was just a white t-shirt. And we know that both the kids had on white t-shirts. This guy had an abundance of white t-shirts. So who knows if they had the correct white t-shirt, but they never found the gold shoes or the shorts. And they didn't get to talk to the sister about him going to her house because she wasn't there when he got there. She was off doing something else. She wasn't there. He just goes in her house and does whatever, and then he goes to the police station. And even on the quick shop video, he's wearing the wife beater shirt, the gold shoes. Yeah. So, and then one of the other comments about the Walmart was the Walmart that he went to was nowhere near the apartment building. So he picks up Little Dink, DL. They leave the apartment, and supposedly the next stop is this Walmart, but it's quite some time before he gets, he gets to the Walmart right before it opens at 7 a.m. He passes three other Walmarts that were within a 10-mile radius of that apartment. Why is he passing all the other Walmarts and going to the furthest Walmart out? No one can figure out. So over in the UK this morning, Lucy Letby was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now they call it something different over there. They call it whole life, which means you have to serve. You're there for your entire life. And the judge had some comments upon this sentencing. However, Lucy Letby was not present at the sentencing. She opted not to be present for the sentencing, which I think is interesting. Her parents weren't there, and she wasn't there. She's been in jail since she was arrested 5 years ago, so she will spend the rest of her life in jail. But I do want to read the comments that were made by the judge. He said, Lucy Letby showed premeditation, calculation, and cunning in the murder of 7 babies and the attempted murder of 6 others. This was Justice Goss, Goss, with the Manchester Crown Court. At the start of his sentencing remarks, he said that Letby relished being in the intensive care unit where she took an interest in uncommon complications and targeted twins and triplets. You acted in a way that was completely contrary to the normal human instincts of nurturing and caring for babies, and in a gross breach of trust that all citizens place in those who work in the medical and caring professions. The babies you harmed were born prematurely, and some were at risk of not surviving, but in each case you deliberately harmed them, intending to kill them. So she was found guilty of murdering 7 babies and the attempted murder of 6 others. So she will now be spending her whole life in prison. All right, guys, that's the show for today. Ended on a sentencing note. So these 2 trials are continuing this morning, so we will continue to cover them. And I hope you have a great Monday, and I will see you tomorrow for more of Crafting and Crime Daily. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.